So we've got 3 bucket lists. We've got a reverse bucket list, and we've got a future bucket list, and we've also got what I call a fucket list, mate. There's a fucket list. I didn't check with it whether I could curse or not, but I just did.
Hey folks, this week in the Wealth Faculty, I got a chance to sit down with Travis Bell, the bucket listologist, self-proclaimed person who is a bucket list expert, been doing bucket listing for over 10 years as a business, and we went through the contents of his latest book and my bucket list. You can get it on Amazon or thebucketlistguide.com if you want to track it down. We had a great chat about what it means to create a bucket list, keep a bucket list, a reverse bucket list, a bucket list now, a fucket list, you name it. We had it, and we had a good chat about what those 3 things mean and how people have transformed and changed their lives creating these bucket lists and using them to drive them and make good decisions as we move through this thing called life and on our way to somewhere special. Do a few things that are exciting and take care of yourself. But hope you enjoyed this conversation I have with Trav Bell. Take care. Trav Bell, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here today.
G'day, Jose. How you going?
I'm well, mate. I'm well. And I was just, we were just chatting off air. You're down in the land of Victoria talking about the surf, mate. How's the holidays been for you?
They've been great. That being said, I work online these days, so I think I only found out it was Australia Day tomorrow at the time of this recording. Literally, we've got a business in a lot of countries around the world, and when you work online, there is no sort of public holidays, and when you work for yourself, you really not getting a lot of time off. But no, it's been great. More importantly, the kids have been home. And as a result, we've been hanging out and enjoying our summer down here while we can, because we are in Victoria after all. And so the water's actually warm, the weather's actually nice, but it'll probably go away tomorrow.
There you go. You got to make the most of it while you can. Well, mate, really appreciate you joining us today to have a bit of a chat. You've been busily not so long ago writing your book, My Bucket List Blueprint, and Amazon bestseller at the moment, and really keen to have a good about that and some of the things that you've been up to for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and maybe even a bit longer in this business, the bucket list business. So, mate, welcome along, and first sort of thing to kick off, I'd love to sort of say, you're a self-appointed. I don't know if the word's a real one in the dictionary. Bucket listologist, is it? Do you own that word?
Mate, that is not a real science. I did not go to university for that. I just made it up. So I thought it was funny. I included it in my bio, and everyone says it. Always gets a laugh. But no, you cannot go and study that at university. Although I maybe should talk to Melbourne University or Bond University up there. No. I've been running around the world as the bucket list guy for about 10 years now. So, I guess in that 10 years, being a serial entrepreneur, the hardest thing has been to stay in that lane. I guess with thought leadership, when you've got some ideas and some philosophies and some intellectual property that you put out into the world, whether it be through books, keynote speeches, TED Talks, coaching programs, that sort of thing. It's very easy to get sidetracked, isn't it? So I've kind of gone, I guess, an inch wide and a mile deep with this whole bucket list, way of thinking, this philosophy, instead of an inch deep, a mile wide. So I've kind of stayed in that lane, and I get touted as a motivational speaker.
Where did it all start for you? Did you wake up one day and go, that's it, I'm going to write my own bucket list? Or, did you get sick of something one day and said, that's it, I haven't done anything in my life, I need to knock over a few things? What sort of prompted you in this bucket list world?
Yeah, so I guess backstory, growing up here in Ocean Grove as a surfer, swimmer, in the surf lifesaving movement as well. I was a jock, as they say in America. that led me to be do a human movement degree at Victoria University. In third year uni, I started this thing called personal fitness training in the early 90s when there wasn't an industry of personal fitness trainers. And so I was one of the first personal trainers running around in Melbourne. And there was literally only a handful of us, and we had to, sort of explain what the hell personal training was back in the day. So I started with one client, and it got really full as a personal trainer. And I was the first to franchise personal fitness training studios in Australia. So we ended up having a chain of personal training studios in Queensland, New South Wales, and down here in Victoria. About 300 personal trainers working under that umbrella, that brand. Did that for 20 years, from one client to tens of thousands of clients to over 2 million personal training sessions. So I've always loved helping people, but I've always also been acutely aware that I don't want to just help a handful of people. I want to sort of change the conversation. I want to sort of change an industry or change the narrative around a certain issue. But I grew it into a monster, mate. So I became too much of a lawyer, too much of an accountant, too much of there were some toxic things going in my, toxic situations and circumstances, people in my life at that point in time. Everything got on top of me. Went through a bout of, albeit mild, case of depression. And it's like, what bloke hasn't? You kind of, when you get talking to guys around Australia, no doubt you'd be aware, mate. It's such a prevalent problem. And when I talk about depression, it was really mild compared to what I've heard since. There's some pretty heavy examples out there. So, but instead of going on like heavy antidepressants and basically putting a Band-Aid over the top of it, I wanted to get to the psychology of what I was going through, to the root cause. And so I really had to force myself to go to the seminars and get coaches and read the books and all that sort of stuff, and really try and work through my issues to try and get to the root cause. And I did. And after about a year and a half, and I used, I learned NLP, life coaching, positive psychology, a Carnegie principle, law of attraction. Like my bookshelf, mate, you've probably got them all too. And
yes.
we're having a bookshelf off. Oh no, sorry. This is a fake. I'm sure this is a fake Zoom background. Is that no? This is real. But at the end of the day, it wasn't until about a year and a half after I started doing this, a friend of mine said, "Trav, why don't you teach this stuff?" And that actually helped me compartmentalize what I was going through. And I put on a talk, and for me, that was the big domino that I felt I had to push over at the time, and put on a talk and summarize all the stuff. And I put on a talk, invited about 40 people to come along to that talk. And it was shocking compared to what I do now. But you got to start somewhere, mate. And it was about halfway through, I started sharing my list to do before I die. And I had one actually written down since I was 18. And this was only 10 years ago. I became the bucket list guy. So it really inspired the group. I said to the group, like, who else has got one of these lists to do before you die actually written down? I was like, I was the only freak in the room. So I started sharing some of the stuff on my list, and it's been my reason for getting businesses going really quick and making decisions quicker. And it was my reason for getting out of bed in the morning. So I started sharing the list, some of the stories. And then Joe, one of the participants at the time, said, "Hey, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's really fired everyone up. It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy." I went, ping, light bulb moment. Went home and registered the bucketlistguy.com, and I've been doing that ever since, 10 years later.
Mate, what a the sliding door moment for you. Door opens and sounds like you're similar to me with the entrepreneurial streak. You see an opportunity, you go for it.
It's funny, hey. Like I didn't know how I was going to monetize it. I knew speaking was going to be a part of it because like doing one-on-one coaching was all well and good, but coaching one to many from a stage, I really, and around that time, also I'd read the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week. I'm sure you've got it up there somewhere, and I had all these commercial leases, mate, like all around Australia. And I just felt the burden of all these leases. And I've just gone, geez, oh God, I'd love to run ship from a hammock one day like Tim Ferriss does, and being in freaking Thailand or something, and just have this remote work. This was a foreign concept compared to how it is now, right? So this whole online world was starting to open right up. Tim was the doyen of it, and I thought, how can I, it just felt right. And when things feel right, the bucket list guy working online, and I'd felt trapped. This was I guess a concept of freedom that I could really go after, and I could help one to many via the stage and running events and that sort of thing. So yeah, again, here we are, and I've gone deeper and deeper and deeper, I guess, with the philosophy, and now it's morphed into a real positive psychology, mental health, especially in the last 12 months, mate. It's really helped a lot of people, which I'm stoked about.
Yeah, and I mean for COVID, there's been quite a lot of mental health issues in the COVID lockdown for a lot of people. And sometimes I've got a group of property investors who had their own challenges, like everyone does when things like this go wrong. And there are sometimes some silver linings in those places and spaces. One for me in the world of COVID. Certainly the first couple of months were a bit uncertain, but the last sort of 6-9 months, we embraced the Tim Ferriss world where, we've taken our whole business online, handed in all of our leases, and I just had a good conversation with our team. Sort of said, we're never going back, team, ever again to that world. Let's make the most of where we are. So, you sort of aspired for that nice and early, and the bucket list thing really has given you an opportunity to do that worldwide by the sounds of things.
Yeah, mate. I was running a remote work team before it was COVID cool, and as a result, I've got 3 years ago. So I've been running around as a speaker and a coach, and had a degree of a remote work team. But 3 years ago, I've leveraged and scaled it out. Now we've got certified bucket list coaches who have bought a license from us, and we've got certified bucket list coaches in 22 countries around the world now. And awesome. As founder CEO of that, I'm have to bring on more and more team, and it's crazy because but we set it up that way. It's not like we went from one thing and then on to another. We set it up that way, and not without its ups and downs. But, I'm a really big advocate of not work-life balance, but designing your life and work-life blend. And I think what everyone's done in the last 6 to 12 months is really redefined, re-engineered, and I dare say recalibrated on what that work-life blend definition is for each and every individual. Getting rid of the bricks and mortar leases is just part of it. People do, starting a side hustle. People have really, like I said, recalibrated on, am I happy? Have I got meaning? Have I got purpose in my life? Am I feeling that feeling of fulfillment? A lot of people have woken up and gone, no, I'm going to do something else. So people have embraced technology like never before. They've innovated, to create extra streams of income and this sort of thing within their pre-existing businesses. And they've also adapted like never before. So there's so many positives, and hopefully it's brought families together, which is, a big part of mental health and all that sort of thing. It's people have really realized on, what it's going to be like, what is their new normal going to actually look like, because the old normal wasn't fulfilled. So, that redefinition process, I think, is a positive that's come out of all this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was chatting with my wife, and we started our business together, and along with my business partner Sam, 18 years ago, and very similar to you, had a lot of stress and pressure, and had some times where certainly if I had an eject button, if I had a big red button I could press, I'm out of here. I probably would have done it plenty of times, and
Oh, yeah,
for
big
us, we
time.
always. I wish I could stop this merry-go-round right now and just redefine it. And last year was an opportunity for many people to do that. But I'd love to dive in. I know you've written the book, and if people want more details on, the My Bucket List stuff, but I'd love to do a bit of a walkthrough on the acronyms. I watched your TED talk; it was awesome. But for the listeners in today, if you don't mind, we sort of have a little chat about each one of those sections in the My Bucket List as we go, because I think they're fantastic. One thing I did about 5 years ago, and it might have even been some of your stuff. I was chatting to Marcus. I'm thinking I've seen this thing somewhere before, that 80 squares, and I'm 100% sure it's yours.
I was the guy that came up with that, so I'll claim that one.
You'll take it until someone else puts their hand up for it. But listen, let's dive in. The M for meet someone. How did talk us through each of these things for those listening in today?
Well, I guess before we dive into that, with your permission, mate, is that as to the why I created it in the first place. Because when I became the bucket list guy, a lot of people had a bucket. A lot of people have got a bucket list, but it's sitting up in their head and it's up there with their daily to-do list. And guess which one gets done on a day-to-day basis? It's your daily to-do list, right? Yeah. So, and when I looked around at all the bucket lists and stuff, a lot of it was about travel, which is only, as you know, one of the 12 categories for how to write a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. So I created this thing to, and to be honest, travel on most people's bucket list requires a lot of, a lot of resources in terms of time and money, and what
it does.
And if we got this vehicle right, whether it be our business or our job or our career, if you get your vehicle right, it should produce the cash flow and the time flow to allow the owner, you to go and do your bucket list. But a lot of bucket lists don't get done, or there's a feeling of disappointment maybe, and delayed gratification. We live in a delayed gratification society. I'll be happy when syndrome. When it comes to travel, right? So a lot of people, do a lot of their bucket list travel when they retire. But with the statistics as they are, with mental health, depression, anxiety, the overprescription of antidepressants, youth suicide, and we've even got this thing now called the loneliness epidemic, which is the adverse effect of social media. It's huge, right? It's an epidemic. People, the system's broken for starters, and people are waiting until someday or the perfect time to come around before they go and do their bucket list. So I wrote this thing to help people start crossing stuff off their list like right now. It doesn't require a lot of time and money. They can get that momentum and that motivation to smash through then the bigger ones. So it's really about helping people experience, possibly more meaning, purpose, and fulfillment, and wins earlier rather than later on. Because I want to kind of change the narrative around those statistics now, not later on. So hence why this thing. It's about helping people, experience more instant gratification as well as delayed gratification. So create the My Bucket List blueprint. Create the My Bucket List blueprint.
Reminds me of a Billy Connolly joke where he says, why do I want to eat broccoli and live healthily now when it puts 5 years at the end of my life? I want the fun now, not later on when I can't enjoy it. It sounds like the same sort of thing where you're saying, all right, well, let's do it in bits.
That's it. And so look, it's 12. It's 12 steps. It's like an AA.
12-step program.
Yeah, that's it. And so real quick, and it's on the back of the book anyway. And here we are. So it's the My Bucket List blueprint. So MY Bucket, My Bucket List. So M stands for Meet a Personal Hero. Y stands for your proud achievements. B, buy that special something. U, ultimate challenges. C, conquer a fear. K, kind acts for others. Excuse me. E, express yourself. T, take lessons. L, leave a legacy. I, idiotic stuff. S, satisfy curiosity, and T is travel adventures, which, as I mentioned before, that requires more time and money than anything. But the other things, a lot of people have been able to, during COVID and during lockdowns and lack of travel, they've been able to tick a whole lot of cool stuff off that basically puts a smile on their face. That's what it's all about. If I wasn't the bucket list guy, I'd be the happiness guy, because that's what the end result. But that brand is a little lame for me, so I went with bucket list. But really, mate, what it does is help people extract and articulate a personally meaningful and holistic list. And it's not just about ticking stuff off. It's off your bucket list. It's really about how a person reverse engineers every aspect of their life in order to make this stuff come to fruition. It's the growth of you on this journey towards these self-imposed destinations. But more importantly, it's about the person, the bigger version of us that lives on the other side, the person that we do not know yet, right? So that's called our potential. Fact is, people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. And there's a lot of people sleepwalking through their life on Groundhog Day, waiting for that Sunday special, something special to come up before that. But it's not until someone gets given a use-by date, either them or their family member or friend, that they suddenly reprioritize and become infinitely resourceful in a moment.
Yeah.
So it's funny how we become infinitely resourceful when we're staring down the barrel of a use-by date. So that's why the bucket list movie is shit, because it's about two blokes that get given a cancer diagnosis and then they write a bucket list, which is stupid.
Yeah. What do you say?
I'll base my whole career on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I was going to ask right there, first question, how do you go about interrupting, let's say, the norm for yourself and others when it comes to, hey, listen, how about thinking about, living now rather than waiting 20 or 30 years? What's part of the process for you in that process and that conversation? What are the big conversations that you reckon people should be having with themselves and others?
No, well, excuse me. I'm not saying anyone should, must, have to, need to, or must. I'm imposing my model of the world onto someone else. This is just another perspective that look at your life through. That's why I do that 80 squares at the start of every talk that I do. 80 squares. So, excuse me. We've got, on average 80 years on Earth. And when you do that exercise at 80 squares, it represents 80 years on Earth. And when people are crossing that off, and if you're 40 something like me, half of them and a couple more are gone. And it really does wake people up. Now, that's, I guess, and then I ask them, pretty full-on questions about cancer and that sort of thing, not to bring the mood down here, but at the end of the day, people really realize that they haven't got much time left and a lot of it's already gone. So if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. Unfortunately, a lot of people have seen that, but it's not until a mate of theirs or a family member or themselves get a diagnosis and then they wake up. I've had people get diagnosed and then come back to me going, now I get your stuff. I wasn't in the right place at the right time when I first saw you speak. I wish I took action then. Now, my whole job mission is to wake people up before they get given a use-by date. Simple as that, mate. And I'll use as a speaker and a coach. I go in and disrupt, and that's it. You get to wake people up. And it's not like you go and live your life or you're going to die or anything like that. It's just like, here's the reality. I'm not a motivational speaker, even though I get touted as a motivational speaker. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to give you reality. And if you take it, you take it. If you don't, you don't. It's not my problem. But here's the deal. This shit is real. And the statistics don't lie. The stats don't lie. You've just got to check in. If you're watching this right now, just check in with, am I fulfilled? Have I got gratitude in my life? Have I got meaning? Have I got purpose? If you rate those out of 10, 10 being yes, 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 all the way, and 1 being none, look, this could be the icing on the cake for some of your crew, mate, because they've got it
Yeah.
sorted, and that's cool. They don't need to listen to me. But again, the statistics don't lie. But if there is a gap between where you are now and where you want to be in terms of your feeling of fulfillment, then maybe have a look at these concepts. Have a look at your bucket list. Have a look at how we can integrate this into your life a little bit more, not just for you, but also for your family. This is an opportunity for you to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help others. All right? Do a family bucket list. Do a couple's bucket list. Do an individual one.
Yeah, for me, it'd be a whole interesting conversation across not only you but your family and those around you as well. You know, my wife and I have a couple of days every year. We just actually came back from them only a week ago, where we do exactly this. What do we want to do this year? What do we want to do for ourselves? What do we want to do together? What do we want to do with our kids? What does it look like? And write those down. What do you see? What are the big things? Maybe 3-5 things that you see stopping people. Something that could be easily sort of foresaw, or this will pop up and push through, or give us a little bit of guidance about what sort of holds people back on knocking over a bucket list and cracking on with it.
Yeah, I mean, probably not in your community, mate, because you're all about positivity, and you got people who are watching this are already kind of closing their version of their gap, most probably. But for others, what's writing a bucket list? Oh, what do I need to write a bucket list? Why the hell do I need to go to a speaker or get a coach to do that? All right, well, have you written one down? Well, no. But the point is, all right, so it's up in your head. Well, it's up there swimming around with your daily to-do list. All right, well, what's easy to do is easy not to do, remember? So when people, there's a consciousness process or conscious process of when a person writes down goals, let alone bucket list items, they've got a 42% more likelihood of them actually manifesting. So let's just write some stuff down. All right. Number one. So remember this. This is called a pen, ladies and gentlemen. This is called a pen. I know and this is called paper. So if you actually put it to pen to paper, you got a 42% more. There's actually research that suggests that if you actually write a pen to paper versus even typing into your phone or into a Google Doc or whatever, it's more of a conscious exercise in doing that, because you've got to think it through a little bit more. Now, there's no use hanging on to that when you've written it down. Then share it with your loved ones, share it with your mates. Enroll the support and action of others. Share lists, and that's why we have a hashtag Bucket Listers community on Facebook that we're all a part of. That anyone can join, and it's all about supporting each person on their bucket list journeys. As not everyone has a supportive ecosystem around them either, or they're not held accountable. But again, what's easy to do is easy not to do. Write it down. And that's how I wrote the book. It's actually like a workbook, and you can just abuse the book and write through it and rip bits out and all that sort of thing. Even better when you get to the end of it and you've actually created your My Bucket List using your bucket list using the blueprint. There's a link in the back that you can send me, and it comes literally to me, your bucket list. So, mate, I'm going to hold you accountable, Jason. You're going to send me your bucket list as well, and be the example for others to follow. And at the end of the day, it's amazing what shows up as a result of you just doing that exercise. We've got processes. We're creating a bucket list board. We got. In fact, I don't start it off with all just future bucket list stuff. We actually start the whole process of going through what we call reverse bucket list. A reverse bucket list is your done list, is everything that you've done in your life as if it were on a bucket list all the way along, right? And the reason why I do that with people, because that's one of the pillars of positive psychology, which is performance-based psychology, and which is gratitude. Right, for people that are in this, a lot of people don't write goals down because of fear of disappointment, fear of failure, fear of success, the same sort of thing. I've written goals down before and I've disappointed myself, and as a result, I'm not going to put it down because I don't want don't want to disappoint myself. So let's just think about, and when I do this with people, let's just write down everything you've done in your life as if it were on a bucket list all the way along. And people are like, oh yeah, God, I did some crazy shit. And, and there's that sense of that sense of ownership, that sense of shit. I've been doing a lot of this by default rather than by design.
Yeah.
What if I put some real intention behind the design from here on, knowing full well that I've created an amazing foundation of what I've done in my life already. So we live in a forward world, a forward thinking world. We forget about our past. If I got when I speak, I ask people to give me 5 things that they've done in their life as if it were on a bucket list all the way along. I give people a few minutes, and people are struggling because we're so focused on the future that we forget about our past.
Yeah.
Right. And then before you know it, people are sharing all the cool shit they've done in their life, and it gives them such a warm feeling that of hope as well, that they can literally, if they put their mind to it, they can literally change their lives by just putting some intention behind what they want. So we've got 3 bucket lists. We've got a reverse bucket list, and we've got a future bucket list, and we've also got what I call a fucket list, mate. There's a bucket list. I didn't check with it whether I could curse or not, but I just did. But not really. It's in the book. Yeah. So it's literally. Hang on. Here we go. It's literally in the book. So, because when I go out on stage, I show this like movie clip, and it's like a Red Bull commercial. Like it just. And I know that if I'm giving a talk. God, I've done talks like to ASIC, right? Which is like the risk management division of ASIC, the tax office.
Wow, that would have been an interesting chat.
CFO conventions, personal assistant convention, where everyone's like, way nerdier than me, and I go in there with the ink and the earrings and the t-shirt and jeans and this sort of thing. Just basically wear whatever I want. I used to have the mohawk, as you know from the TED talk. And I know that I put out this film clip at the start, and I know that most of the audience is sitting back going, "Fuck that! I don't want to do any of that shit." It's like, all right, cool. It's not what lights me up is not what lights you up. Put it on that other list, and that's cool. This is such a personal exercise. But I tell you what, over the 10 years of actually doing this and unpacking this for people, whoa, I've got some stories. Just in terms of what people have done and what people want to do. And there's some weird shit that you can do in this world. I've spoken on.
And it's great that, it's personalized as well, Yeah.
Yeah, it's really personal.
Yeah, because like you said, this is your life, and design it rather than accidentally, trip over it, as you're going along. Would you say that and one of the things that really jumps out at me, and certainly the idea of like almost, for one of a very average description, almost like a scorecard. I am winning, and I'm winning in 12 different ways, or I've got the ability to win and do something and sort of and tick it off and achieve things, or whatever that might be in a psychological terms. But for me, it seems there's plenty of ways to go about ticking bucket lists and having fun and doing things, whether they cost a lot or they cost nothing. It could fit into there. So it sounds like it's quite a good way of keeping the score and patting yourself on the back.
Yeah. Look, here's my big philosophy on life. All right, work life. A bucket list is a tangible life plan, where our career plan or our business plan should fit into our life plan and not be the other way around. So this really brings home the work to live principle. And like I said before, our businesses, our jobs, our share portfolio, our real estate, through rents, and this, it's all designed to spit out the time flow and cash flow to allow you, the owner, to go and live your life. The time and the money are simply the results of an optimized vehicle. right? So so keep putting. I've got over 300 things on my bucket list, and I'm 47. So I've got a lot of stuff to do, and it's amazing. I'm doing 5 things at the moment. So you cross them off, and then they go onto the reverse bucket list, and just keep feeding the vehicle, get leverage and scale the vehicle, so it allows you more time to do this with more people. But I think the double bonus is that if your vehicle hits your values, which is your internal rule book, and you're of service to the community, you're of service to other people. I think that's the holy grail, man. And you love what you do, and it doesn't do your head in, and you're actually engaged in that vehicle. You're going to be, I think that's the holy grail. It's getting what I need, and it's hitting my values. Double bonus. The fact of the matter is, and I do a lot of stuff in America. The fact of the matter is, and it's not that much different in Australia, that 89% of people who go to work every day over in the US are what they call disengaged. So that's 89%, nearly 90% of people go to work every day and they're not really into what they're doing. Like they're just getting the paycheck and going home. Now I think ours is nearly, I think it's 76% in Australia from memory. I might be butchering that stat, but it's not far off. So that's what we call disengaged. That's like I can take it or leave it. It's just a job. So it's quite an interesting, and hence I think that then has a waterfall effect into the depressions, into the overprescription of antidepressants, into suicides and youth suicides, and that has a massive effect on obviously the family ecosystem as well. So at the end of the day, I think hopefully COVID has forced us all to rethink what we are doing on a day-to-day basis, and hopefully allowed people the window of courage to go after the things that really light them up, and to create this new definition of their normal work-life blend, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I love that, mate. That work-life blend is awesome. I remember reading the 4-hour work week, and I can't remember the exact term, but it Vera said it was like a lifestyle output mechanism that you measured the activity on, right? It's like, you're getting lifestyle output from the things that you're doing, and if you're not, then you could be earning $1 million a year, but if that lifestyle output was little, or some person was working 3 days a week and their lifestyle output was more, then by and large, if that's the way you want to win, then the person's winning, right? So.
Yeah, and you said before about a scorecard, and I want to just preface that with, we're not comparing yours against mine. Mine's bigger than yours. My bucket list is more extreme than anyone else's. I like to, whether it be in a room or a podcast room like this or whatever, is, the whole world is suffering from comparisonitis. So we created a no judgment zone here, and like, who gives a shit? At the end of the day, it's the things that, I see some things, that I could do people's lists like that, but it's not my prerogative. It's not my view of the world. It's theirs. And that's the thing that lights them up. As long as everything on that list is getting them outside their comfort zone, to force them in a good way to see the bigger version of themselves on the other end. And that's what it's all about. And I've done this with extremely wealthy people, extremely poor people, all races from all different countries and continents all around the world, and they're so varied and rich with experience, and that's the beauty of it. It's not for me to overlay my model of the world and go, you should do this, you should do that, because at the end of the day, that's the stuff that lights me up. But other people don't give a shit about what I like. That's cool.
Like you said, run their own race. In there, there's sort of seek for conquer. What do you find people struggle with the most in the 12 parts here? Is there something that, in my head, I'm just making an assumption, spend some money on yourself and lash out, or conquer a fear, whatever that is, being a nude model, or, doing a skydive or whatever.
I don't recommend that one. Yeah, look, all the classics are, climb a mountain, do a marathon, do the skydive, possibly not the nude model bit. But at the end of the day, they're all your classic, what you call, and obviously the seven wonders of the world and that sort of thing. But it's the things that really really I love is when families come together and they do stuff together. I for instance, I'll give you an example. I had a girl by the name of Beth, and she came to a seminar that I did, and she didn't, she sent me an email afterwards and said, "Oh, I was too shy to come up to you afterwards, and I just want to tell you a little bit of a story. You've changed something in me today." Anyway, long story short, alcoholic, on suicide watch. She tried 4 or 5 times, and she hated her job. She put up a really good front at work and that sort of thing. And she's like, "Don't tell anyone." I was like, "No, no, no." And I said, "Just Beth, thanks a lot. Number one, because when someone reaches out to you, you know that they're on the healing journey, right? And that they want to be helped to some degree. A person doesn't raise the white flag because they don't want to be seen. I've been in depression, and when you're coming out of it, that's when you're seeking help. That's when you're seeking mentors, reading the books, going to the events, all that sort of thing. So I got Beth to just simply go through the bucket list and basically send it to me. She's going, "Oh, but you're so busy." And I said, "Beth, you got me. I'm in. Just send me your list. You got 48 hours to do it. All right." So I want it by 5 o'clock, and like giving them. So she sent it. I said, "What's going to be the first thing?" Just answering quickly. "What's going to be the first thing you're going to do, Beth?" Oh, you mean like now? Yep. What's the first thing you're going to do, like this week? And then she's like, "Oh, I'll do this." I was just telling her what to do, And she said, "All right, do them." And I said, "But you got to send me a photo too, because I don't. You could be bullshitting to me. So you got to send me a photo of you doing it. All right, cool, deal." Meanwhile, I'm going, this chick could try again. So send me some accountability around that. And then, long story short, a year later, I sort of lost contact. Got busy, popped up in thoughts, a little bit worried. Anyway, a year later, she sent me a photo of her and her family over in Europe. And she said, this is the shit that gets me. I wrote this on my bucket list. It was a year and a half later. I wrote this on my bucket list, Trav. I didn't show this one to you, but I really wanted to reconnect with my family. I found that I had to come out of the closet in order to do so properly. That I was fighting that all the way, and if it wasn't for the conquer of fear, which I also wrote, come out to my family, and here we are over in Europe, and it was just, and that just floored me, And she's just been great ever since, and it's right place, right time. Over the last 10 years, I've seemingly been in the right place at the right time for a lot of people, which has been really cool. And the light's just gone on. And, and kind of spoiler alert, like I said in the back of that TED talk, at the end of that TED talk, I've raised some money for the Reach Foundation, which is set up by AFL footy player Jim Steins, who's passed away. But he left his amazing legacy in terms of the Reach Foundation. He said, I'll raise some money for them. And they said, "Oh, I'll come down and do a talk for the leaders of the Reach Foundation." Oh, I'd be stoked. Love what you guys do. Went down to Collingwood, their headquarters, gave a talk. And this is for the leaders of the Reach. So no one, all young adults, no one over the age of like 22, 23 kind of thing. And there's a way, it's a personal program for wayward teens, leadership program. I've gone through the program, graduated, and then, become a leader. I want to pay it forward. Oh, love to. Went down, did my thing, and then right at the end of this, young lady, should I say, got up, bawling, in front of everyone in this round room. I said, "What's going on?" And she would have been about 18, 19, And she said, if my younger sister had been here to see your presentation today, she wouldn't have killed herself 2 weeks ago. And I just went, and I, you know, that was the day I found out my why of what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. Deeply ingrained in your purpose for being here.
Well, man, you know, like, and that's the thing. It's every whether it be a podcast or a stage or book or whatever. It's just an honor and a privilege to have the platform to, you know, hopefully someone's watching this and the light's gone on for a few people, and you know, and as a result, it's go next step. Yep, grab a book and all that. But you know, a book, you can get a lot of shelf help, and but you know, I want people to take action on it. And it's funny things will show up in your life. Funny things will really start. You know, you'll start to look at your life in a completely different way, and it'll help you get on with some of those decisions that you possibly got to make in your business or your career, or even your relationships.
Yeah, I love it, mate. You know, the idea certainly something that I physically embodied or realized about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm an avid rock climber. I've been climbing all around the world, and starting to see that I wasn't going to be forever physically capable of doing these things that I've always wanted to do, and I was putting them off. And 5 years ago, I got back on my list of places and spaces to go climbing, and I'd booked them. You know, been doing them every year for 5 years, and COVID just put a little spanner in the works this year. But certainly, as I get a little bit older, that focus becomes really laser focused on doing those things for me. So what if any of these have been, you know, massively impactful for you? Are they all a blended impact for you to sort of drive you forward, or is there one thing now that is sort of driving you more than the others? You know, is there, you know, at your stage in life right now?
Well, for me, it's really, I've got 4 kids in my life now, and you know, it's all about all about legacy. You know, I've done a heap of stupid shit, and that I've risked a lot of you know, that you start to second guess when you get a little bit older. It was more, but plus it was more about me rather than we. Now it's about the kind acts I can do for, you know, with other people, for other people. It's legacy. It's the stuff that I can do with the kids as well. So this sort of interjects. You know, you give this to a 21-year-old, and it's all about jumping out of planes and climbing mountains. And for me, it was surfing big waves and stuff. And that's just how it is. And still love doing all that stuff, but it's not the priority as per your question. And yeah, it's funny because the more I go into it, the more I realize that this little idea is having more of an effect than I originally thought it would, in terms of, you know, mental health, helping people realign, you know, their lives and intentionally design their lives. And whereas at the start it was all about, you know, it was quite shallow, and now it's very deep. It was all about just writing a list and going and doing it. And hey, this is also a really cool way. If you haven't worked it out by now, Jace, you know, for the last 10 years, I've been able to write my bucket list off on tax. See?
I like that, mate. I like that. Even coaching businesses.
See, and even to this day, my accountant says, "You're not as dumb as you look, are you, Trav?" Just watch it, you know. And now, better yet, our coaches. So check this out. See this? The ticket before you kick it.
Nice.
Here we go. So all of our coaches and clients around the world, they all run around with these signs as part of our marketing, that our ticket before you kick it movement. And yeah, our coaches have got to, you know, they become a coach, and they can do basically what I've been doing, and they're going out and doing, you know, big group coaching programs with corporates and that sort of thing. And getting people to communicate in a whole different levels to each other, within companies, see each other in different lights. And yeah, it's been awesome. But for me, I'll still keep doing stupid stuff, mate. One of the things that I've got coming up, as a result, like right here, for getting the book done, I rewarded myself, right, with and there's a really messy desk, but I rewarded myself with a mixer, DJ mixer.
Nice.
So the plan is to headline Coachella. No, it's not. I get it, and I'm putting it all together and learning all the mixing techniques and stuff. But I want to be able to play, like a challenge to myself. I want to play a gig, a DJ gig, flawlessly, and have people actually enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the what category is that in? Your proud achievements. Stand-up comedy gig is also what I've got coming up. Fucking shooting myself. And and before you ask, and I know we've got mutual friends, no, you're not coming is the first answer, because what I don't need is you guys. What I don't need, mate, is you guys half cut, full in the first couple of rows heckling me. So I'm not telling you where it is or when it's going to be. So I'm absolute, like, this is probably one of the biggest fears. Like, I've jumped out of the planes, I've gone to altitude, I've spoken in public, I've done, that TED talk was in front of 2,000 people. And I've got no problem doing any of that, but make me laugh, funny boy. Make me laugh, funny man. Like that's a whole other respect. So that one, and also what do we got? Swim with the whale sharks. That's what I want to do this year as well. So there's the top three that I can think of, and getting the book done was a big one last year, and we're still building out Bucket List Coach as well, which is more of a legacy piece. So yeah, it's I just keep adding stuff to it. I added one the other day: stay in an ice hotel, in the original ice hotel in Sweden.
Yes. That's certainly on the list for myself and my wife. So that's an awesome one. Yeah,
and you can stay in the igloos as well, and you get a midnight husky ride under the Northern Lights.
Love it, mate. I love it. Mate, inspirational conversation today, mate. Really appreciate you taking some time to share with me and my listeners. And your book is certainly doing wonderful things out there in the world, mate. Certainly inspired me even more today, and I'm sure my crew will be pretty keen to get their fingers on it, so they can buy it from Amazon. If I say My Bucket List and they search it on, they'll be able to track it down and buy a copy. So awesome.
It looks like that, but if they want a look, it took me 10 years to write it, right? So I talk about an exercise in procrastination and perfectionism. It took me 10 years to write it, and look how thick it is. It's pathetic. But no, if people want a signed book, they can go to thebucketlistguy.com/book, and I can sign a copy. Especially here in Australia, but we've been sending them all overseas. Or they can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Angus and Robertson, all that sort of thing, and they can get a printed version from there or a Kindle version. That's up to them. But yeah, I've been flat out since we launched it 2 weeks before Christmas, and I've just been signing books ever since. Pretty much, it's been really, really well received. So thanks for the opportunity, man.
Fantastic, mate. And I always finish my conversations with one question. My podcast is called The Wealth Faculty, and we talk about what the meaning of wealth is to people from all walks of life. And my question to you is, Trav, what's the meaning of wealth to you? The true meaning of wealth?
I think it's choices. I think it's having the choices equals freedom of mind. I think it's, I guess, it's having the ability to pay people who are really good at what they do to do the things that you are not good at, so that you can concentrate on what you are good at and do more of that. Quite simply.
Yeah. Nice, mate. Freeing the time up.
Yeah.
What do they say? You can't buy the time back, but you can replenish your energy and put your focus into the things that you can do and what you want to do. Really appreciate your time, mate, today. It's been fantastic, and look forward to reading your book. I'm going to grab a copy.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, Jace. Thanks a lot for having me on the show, mate.
Cheers, Trav. Take care, mate.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, thanks for joining us on The Wealth Faculty. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe where all good podcasts are found. You can find us there. And if you want to watch it, you can subscribe on YouTube, Positive Mentor TV. And until the next episode, take care. Bye for now.